Get ready for your daily dose of WordPress and web development tips, tricks, and insights to help you find success with WordPress. You're listening to WP the Podcast with your hosts, David Blackman and Tim Streifler.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of WP the Podcast, brought to you by WP Gears. I'm David Blackman.
And I'm Tim Streifler.
Today we're going to talk about the biggest struggle for most web designers and web developers. Drum roll, please. Closing sales. That's the biggest struggle for most people. Developers and designers aren't typically salespeople. So it doesn't mean that they aren't. There are some out there, but overwhelmingly, the majority of people that we speak with and students that come through our courses and whatnot, their biggest struggle is closing deals, communicating with clients about money, because it's really, really hard. I think there's a lot of things that come into play when you're talking about money. Obviously, you need money to eat. You need money to live. You've got to keep the lights on and a roof over your head. So when you have those natural instincts, those human instincts that need to be met, and this person has to say yes in order for you to get those needs met, it can be a scary thing. So I'm going to let Tim talk a little bit, and then I'll jump back in here.
Yeah. So as David mentioned, sales definitely the biggest struggle for most web designers. Actually building websites, designing and building is relatively easy to learn in terms of like the resources that are out there, the steps that you have to do to get good. I'm not saying everyone can do it, right away. It takes time. There is a learning curve, and I'm not trying to belittle the skills and experience that you, our listeners, have gone through. The years of learning. I've been there myself, but it's a more straightforward process. You can watch YouTube videos, you can take courses, you can do this, you can do that, read tutorials, and just kind of figure it out as you go. And over time, you're going to get really good at building websites. Where sales is different. The learning process is different. The more you do it, the better you get. But it's because there's so much internal components to it, like internal struggles, fears, stuff like that. It's a whole nother animal. And so that's why it's harder to learn. And that's why most people suck at sales and most web designers struggle with sales. And so that's actually why David and I, in our course, Divi Business Expert, we made sales, closing deals, a big focus of the course. And so it's turned out that it was always kind of designed that way to be a big focus. And then once we got feedback from students, we kind of even made it more of a focus and added in more bonus, more training around sales and role playing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big struggle, but we're hoping to solve that with our course.
Yeah, and sales is something that I have always thrived at. It's not been something that's really been too difficult for me. Maybe it's just because I'm crazy and I have no fear of asking people for money, but I do at the base. That's basically the end. The gist of it. Is confidence in what it is that you do and what you offer and stuff, and then asking to be paid for it. So, like Tim mentioned, our course, we definitely have some really good training and tools to use to make that transition easier. And I will say this, that it's a learned skill. Once you learn it, it becomes easier and easier and easier the more you do it and stuff. So repetition and consistency goes a long way when you're communicating with clients and stuff. So if you're struggling with that, leave us some comments. Come on over to WPGears.com to the episode, leave it there, or any of the podcast platforms that you listen to. Leave us a comment, send us an email, or, let us know what you're struggling with, where you're struggling at in the sales process and stuff. Or if you're awesome and you're a guru and you got some super good tips that you can share with us and our audience, please do that as well. We'd love to hear it, because we are by no means the end all be all for closing sales with clients and customers. And
yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And I think for some people, they don't even realize that sales is what they're struggling with. They just know they're having trouble getting clients. It's like, well, okay, well, that's the sales. It's the first part of the sales process, because some people, they're not even getting their foot in the door. And so, yeah, that's again, it's part of the sales process, whether you realize it or not. People are like, oh, I thought clients just are going to come to me magically. It's like, well, I wish. It's not exactly how it works, though.
Awesome. Well, tomorrow we've got another great episode. Backing up your website isn't good enough. You need to do this too. Tune in tomorrow to find out what this is. Tim, until tomorrow, we'll see you then.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We've come to the end of today's episode of WP the Podcast. Join us tomorrow for more daily tips and strategies designed to help you run your WordPress business toward success. Remember to subscribe to WP the Podcast so you can stay up to date with each episode. And don't forget to rate and review us. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on WP the Podcast.